Hey guys, Deepak here from digitaldeepak.com, and today we are going to do a podcast with Rishabh Dev, the growth hacker. So, hey Rishabh, welcome to the podcast.
Hey Deepak, so excited to be here.
Yes. So, Rishabh, let's start talking about your career journey. How did you get into this field, and how did you start your career with? What worked early in the career, and how did you take that as a learning path to eventually get here?
Right, so I started like most of us. Started back in 2009 freelancing, and at that time, digital marketing was SEO, more or less. So I also started the same way, building websites, building landing pages, trying to get optimizations on the websites. And then I realized that there are ways to do things where it's probably a slower and more organic journey, or there are ways to do paid acquisitions where it's probably a faster journey but a more expensive journey. And then I thought to myself, there has to be a better way. There has to be a middle way to this, where you're not spending too much on ads and also you're not waiting too long. So you either have a lot of money or you have a lot of time. And when I looked at startups, slowly I started my agency in 2012 and then registered it in 2014. That was the time when I started looking at entrepreneurs who have none of these two.
Okay.
Right. So they don't have that kind of time horizon, and they also don't have that kind of money. And that's where I knowingly or unknowingly executed campaigns which are now like growth hacking campaigns, where we looked at clever and creative ways to hack the audience on other people networks. So finding other networks where we could hack into it, of people who were already spending money on ads or people who were already doing long-term SEO efforts. So that's how my journey started and transitioned from like standard SEO and website stuff to growth hacking stuff.
Okay, nice. So when you started as a freelancer, right,
Yep.
and then you set up an agency,
Right.
how did you go about acquiring clients? Because I think that process also you would have growth hacked to some extent.
Right.
And a lot of people who are getting into freelancing and agency, the biggest struggle is that, hey, how do I get my first client, first 3 clients? And can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Sure. So I started as a freelancer when I was still in college. And this was the time when I did not have, I could not even imagine building like a sales team or having an outreach process and this and that. So I basically looked at where is this audience who can buy a website service or a SEO service, or eventually when I transition to growth hacking service, a growth hacking service for me. Where does this audience live? Where are they most active on? So to apply this answer, to make it more applicable to the audience today, if you look at your client persona, you can either reach them through paid campaigns. So the entire internet is a database, and you want to tap into some segment of that database, right? How do you tap into that data point? Where are these agencies hanging out? So maybe they're already hiring freelancers, maybe they're already hiring agencies and they're writing them reviews. They could be doing this on Upwork, for example. They could be doing it on Fiverr, for example. Can you look at other competitors, freelancers or agencies on Upwork, and then go into their reviews section and then see the negative reviews? Now, these are the clients that you can offer better services to. Yes. Or you can look at agencies' Twitter threads and look at the tweets and replies tab, and then see if they're having conversations with their clients there for support or anything else, like big agencies, right? And then see if you can get in touch with those people. So now, instead of having to acquire them either by lead magnets or ads or SEO, which are all great ways, by the way, you are able to hack into someone else's network. Maybe there are Reddit threads where people are discussing, the experience they had with other agencies, right? And maybe it's not so positive experience. Now, these are the kinds of people you want to DM on Reddit or on Instagram. So those are like different ways that you would go about looking at clients. They already outsource. They already have bad experiences with agencies. You come in, you offer them free consultation or whatever your offer is, a good offer, the next step, and then you get them into your funnel.
Got it. That makes sense because in 2017, I was using drip.co. Now it's drip.com.
Yep.
And that particular email marketing tool had deliverability issues. A lot of mails were landing in spam and everything. So I tweeted about it. And Nathan Berry from ConvertKit reached out to me personally and said, hey, why don't you try ConvertKit? And he personally onboarded me, getting on a Skype call and everything. Until today, I'm using ConvertKit, recommending ConvertKit for everyone. So pissed off customers at a particular brand are one of the best leads to target if you just, and I think that is a good growth hack.
Absolutely. I think it's applicable in the SaaS industry. It's also applicable in e-commerce. So if you look at product reviews on Amazon and you have a competing product, you can literally like scrape reviews, do an analysis of what are the things people don't like about that product. And this is the fun thing about growth hacking, that it's not just about acquisition. It can also help you improve your product. I mean, a simple example, since we just spoke about Twitter, when Twitter initially had an onboarding process, you would basically just sign up and you would be redirected to your Twitter profile. Now, this works really well for LinkedIn, for example, because most of the people on LinkedIn want to see their own profiles. But on Twitter, now they've added a step where you have to follow at least 10 people before you can complete the onboarding process. Now, what this does is it improves the retention rates because they found that people who follow at least 10 people are much more likely to come back to the app versus people who don't. So it's a growth hack because you learn from the data, you take the data, and then you run a small experiment, see if it works, see if it improves retention rates. If it works for a certain amount of people, then you roll it out. And this is very different from what we typically talk about, like paid acquisition, lead generation, and all of that, because now you are engineering into the product. So this is why growth hacking is an overlap between marketing, but also technology. It's not just marketing.
Yeah. So they say product-led growth. And
Yeah.
I think this kind of comes inside product-led growth, because with marketing and digital marketing, you are just working on the acquisition.
Right.
But what are the optimizations and micro optimizations that you can do in every step of the onboarding process and the product process? That comes under growth hacking, I believe.
Right. So I think marketing also expands to awareness. So you have awareness, you have acquisition, you have activation, you have revenue, you have retention, and you have referral. That's the full funnel. And growth hackers work on the full funnel.
Got it.
So you might have heard of the most classic example of Dropbox. You refer a friend, you get more storage. You complete the onboarding process, you get more storage. That was a famous growth hack.
Yes.
But eventually, if you see, that growth hack works throughout the funnel.
Yeah.
It makes people aware because you share about Dropbox. It helps acquisition because you refer your friends, they come and sign up. If you get a pro account, you get 1 GB extra, for example. It also gets revenue. And finally, once you are a user, you can refer your friends, and then it hacks into the referral stage of the funnel. So these are this is the A3R3 funnel, where you have AAA, RRR, R funnel.
Okay, what is that? Expand on it.
You have awareness, acquisition, activation, revenue, retention, and referral.
Oh, wow.
And growth hackers could work on any of these stages. I can, in fact, show it so people can visualize it a little bit better. So this is sort of an overview, but for now, we're just going to deep dive into the metrics aspect. And this is the A3R3 funnel. So we have awareness, acquisition, activation, revenue, retention, referral. And if we deep dive, you're looking at things like clicks, reach and impressions, traffic and visitors, very much also under the digital marketing umbrella. Acquisition, again, very much also under the digital marketing umbrella, where you have leads, subscriptions, email captures. Now, beyond this, if you're a services business, you can do more. But if you're a product business, you have to get into growth hacking, because now we are talking about freemium customers, trial signups, conversion from a lead to a demo, conversion from a demo to an extended demo, let's say, or from an extended demo to a subscription. And then you get into selling the subscription, trial to paid conversion. Or for e-commerce, it could be an order or purchase. For a services agency, it could be a kickoff of the project. Growth hacking applies throughout the funnel. Then you have retention. So maybe you're working on improving the LTV, or you're working on reducing churn rate. Those are all also places where you could use product-based growth hacks to improve those metrics. And then finally, referral, social sharing, getting influencer sales, conversions from referrals. So that's the A3R3 funnel of growth hacking.
Very interesting. I had developed my own version of a similar funnel, which was called CATT. So content, attention, trust, transaction. That is more into marketing. But then I realized that CATT just ends with marketing. It does not touch product. And then I read a book called UI UX, strategic content writing for UI UX.
Okay.
On how you do the micro copy inside your product interface to improve retention and everything. So I expanded the CATT funnel into my own version of something similar called CATT OSTR.
Okay.
So OST stands for onboarding, serving and transforming,
Okay.
which eventually builds your reputation,
Nice.
which helps with trust building and everything.
Nice.
But I think this is also a very good A3, R3 funnel so to remember and makes a lot more sense when it comes to growth hacking and product based growth.
Right. I think that's where growth hacking really steals the show. If you're a startup, you have a product, you have to get into growth hacking, because at some point you don't find your answers when you speak to digital marketing agencies. You stop finding your answers beyond performance marketing or beyond SEO. Then you have to look for answers somewhere else. And that's why everything has its own place, I believe.
So one more question that I have is that how easy it is for someone to be an external growth hacking agency and help a startup, because a lot of these growth hacks seems to be something that is involved with the product itself. An external marketing agency can just do the marketing stuff and just send the leads and traffic to them. But a growth hacking agency can't just be a done for you agency. It can be a consulting agency because some of the product improvements has to be done within the company.
So growth hacking, usually growth hacker as a term is a unicorn term. It does not really exist. It's a growth hacking team. So it's hard to get a marketing person and a techie and a data guy all in one person, right? So this is the holy trinity of growth hacking. You'll need marketing, you'll need tech, and you need data, right? Analytics.
Yes.
So while marketeers can learn analytics, it's sometimes hard to learn tech and marketing at the same time. These are usually different characteristics, different personas, different personalities. So if you hire in teams and then build an agency and then offer as a service, you may still be successful with growth hacking.
Got it.
But then would you be a CEO who can also manage a tech team and a marketing team at the same time? Maybe not. Then you would have to get a CTO on board. In that case, most people would rather just build their own startup. This is why a lot of growth hackers actually transition to entrepreneurs.
Got it.
Right.
Yeah.
Probably Vaibhav is a good example in our industry. Then we have, even for me, I transitioned from agency to consulting, and now I'm building my own tech startup because if you're a growth hacker, you've dealt with a lot of techies, you have access to a lot of tech resources, and you already had the marketing background. So you would typically then want to build equity with a tech startup.
Yes.
But yes, if you have the holy trinity, yes, you can be a growth hacking agency. However, you would still be dependent on the startup founders or the managers working very closely with you, because you have to make decisions about changes in the product.
Yes.
Right. And that's where the actual impact of growth hacking really comes in.
Yeah. So I think this is like a good journey that most of the people might take, that you start out as a freelancer, kind of doing marketing services for other people, and then you become an agency, you try to expand on those services, then you do growth hacking consulting, and by the time you try to put in like a team so that you can do agency work as a growth hacker, you might start looking at so many opportunities out there that the entrepreneur bug in you wants to start your own startup. Absolutely. So that you can grow it with growth hacking.
Right. I mean, it's also a great journey in terms of learning, because the best thing you can do as a growth hacker is basically execute a lot of growth hacks. When you execute a lot of campaigns, you have a lot of past data. You build a database of past data, and most importantly, you build judgment. You're able to predict if a growth hack would work or not. Now, the premise of growth hacking is the same as the scientific method. You have a hypothesis, you experiment, you get results initially, quickly, lean, agile, you get the results. You feed the results back into the system and you improve. You kill what doesn't work.
Trying to go towards the obvious truth.
Correct. And you are like, okay, have I validated my hypothesis in a month? If not, I don't need to do it for 1 year, which, no offense, but a digital marketer could actually fall into that trap of trying to do SEO, let's say, for a few years and then not seeing results. So that's where it eliminates waste in the sense it's a more lean process. And you go to the audience faster because every week you roll something out. So it's a more agile process. So it goes very well in accordance with the lean startup principles.
Yeah.
And that's why growth hacking and startups work really well together.
Got it. So you said you started out as a freelancer, started out with SEO services. You started your agency in 2014, Maplinks Digital.
Yes.
Tell us about the mistakes that you did as an agency and the things that you learned from those mistakes.
Yeah, the first mistake was hiring people.
Okay.
Not hiring the wrong or right people, just hiring people, because I hired a lot of people. And I realized, hey, I'm a growth hacker. I should take it lean. I should go lean instead of just hiring so many people and managing the payrolls, because eventually you get into a treadmill effect, which I call the agency treadmill effect.
Okay.
You're on the treadmill, you're hiring people, you need more clients, you get more clients, you need more people, and this goes on. And then, life happens. I got married, I have a daughter now, and I don't want to be on the treadmill the whole day, right? So eventually you realize, okay, what is the form of leverage here? The only form of leverage here is people, right? There is no code leverage, there is no capital leverage. As an agency, you don't raise funds. Then you start looking at options where there is more leverage. So while I feel an agency is great to make your first $1 million, from first to 10 million, you want to build equity. You want to build more leverage. You want to go beyond manpower leverage. So there are Naval Ravikant, right? Four forms of leverage. So you want to go beyond that manpower leverage and look at other ways of leverage.
I made it into 5 forms of leverage, my own version.
What is the fifth
So
one?
the 3 old types of leverages are manpower. Then you have time, which he probably didn't talk about, because you are long enough in a particular industry. Correct. Then you are going to have a certain kind of leverage because of learning more about that industry, the reputation, the networks that you build and everything. And then capital. So manpower, time and capital are the old forms of leverage. And then you have code and content as well, which is the new form of leverage.
Right.
You have to do something that taps into all the forms of leverages, which is to build your own startup.
Correct. Also, I think building your own startup, that does content really well, because a lot of startups have the other forms of leverage, but they don't produce content well enough. I also, like the fact that I feel sometimes we think of leverage only as things which are outside of ourselves. But for me, even, my energy is a form of leverage. So if I work an hour in the morning, for me personally, versus an hour in the night, I will have more leverage in the first hour that I have in the morning. So it's a form of leverage because you spend the same amount of time, but you get much more output.
Much more output.
Right. So people always think leverage comes from things outside of you. But leverage also comes in managing your own habits and routines, better.
So I will add personal productivity as the 6th form of leverage for my 5 points.
Absolutely. So now we have 6.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. So tell us a little bit about, how you transitioned into growth hacking consulting. What kind of clients do you work with? And in what capacity do you work? Like, how do you convince the clients? Do you convince them to pay you like a monthly retainer? Do you do like a profit sharing or revenue sharing? And how do you convince them to do this with you? Because sales is a big part of being successful consultant or an agency.
Right. So honestly, what's worked best for me has been my own brand. So my personal brand is how I have got more or less most of the leads and clients that I work with. And the growth hacking space is very different than a digital marketing space. I mean, you'll obviously know that it's much less saturated. Also, if you create content consistently, and one biggest hack is to basically actually coin your own terms, right? Like the A3R3 funnel is my term. If you if you Google A3R3 funnel, my agency comes on the first result. My personal website comes on the third result, and my book comes at the second result. So it's essentially the first 3 results are taken.
So you have written a book as well?
Yes.
On this? What is it called?
Growth hacking. So they're growthmarketingonline.com. We use the term growth marketing for the book. Online.com.
If I just search
you can also Google A3R3 funnel. You should be able to get it that way as well.
Okay. A3R3.
So
I'll just put all the keywords there.
Yeah. So the first result is from Maplinks. The second result is from the book. The third result is from my personal website. So I'm basically capturing those 3 positions.
So you have put the entire book in chapters on a website?
The entire book is in chapters on WordPress. So people can read all the chapters there.
And now it is indexed. It's on SEO as well.
Correct.
This is a very good idea that I'm going to copy. I'm going to put my entire book. I'm writing a book called Deep Marketing.
Nice.
And as you said, it's always good to come up with your own terms.
Correct.
So I'm going to put the entire book on a website like
Absolutely. This works really well. So I have all the chapters and some description of each chapter here. So you can learn everything you need to know, but no one reads it, right? So basically people still want to watch a podcast, or there's a lot of traffic, but they still want a course, they still want time with you, of course, because it does not have real life case studies. So it has all the information though. If you need any information about growth marketing, growth hacking, it's all there in the book.
Very nice, man. If you don't mind me asking, this website is built on what?
WordPress.
WordPress.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I'm a little old school when it comes to choosing my publishers. So I got off Medium in some time when their pricing strategies did not align with my values. I prefer to have something which has been there for the longest period of time, where I have options for plugins, apps. I can do whatever I want. There are more developers available. There's a huge support system. So yeah, it's still on WordPress.
Makes sense. And the theme is very minimalistic. And
Correct.
Very nice.
Correct.
Yeah. Cool. So regarding conversion of clients and how do you charge them?
Right.
So this is one way, you have used your personal brand,
Right.
but personal brand kind of pre-sells your offering.
Right.
It does not actually does the sale itself.
Correct.
So how do you sell? Do you get on a Zoom call with the client? Do you ask them to book a Calendly meeting with you? How do you approach them? Do you meet them offline?
Sure. So what I offer is a free growth hacking consultation. And if the leads are coming from my personal website or LinkedIn or anywhere else, like you said, I've already pre-sold them with my brand. If there is a client referral, for example, they may not know me personally, but they still have a referral. They still have past data to show that I can do it. So in that case, what I do is I first send them links to my books and other things. So I still try to have that pre-sale, plus a Calendly link to book a free consultation call. Now, this is a free growth hacking consultation call where I try to give as much value as possible. I try to break down their A3R3 funnel and I say, what do you do for acquisition? What do you do for activation? What do you do for retention? 80% of people only do acquisition, so they don't have an answer to that. And then I tell them, hey, you are doing 1 out of 6 stages, or you're doing 2 out of 6 stages, right? Why don't we design growth hacking experiments for all 6 stages? Because that's what your business needs. If they are way too early in the journey, then maybe I don't need those 6 stages. Maybe I just need to focus on 3 stages. So I give them like a full free growth hacking consultation call. And I honestly do not care if they work with me or not. In this call, I just want to break down their startup. I just want to give as much value as possible. And maybe this is a theme that repeats in your business as well.
Yes.
That's what I feel you do as well. So I try to give as much value as possible in these calls, and I enjoy it. I enjoy ripping startups apart. So it's also.
And you also get a better understanding about the market and the startups, what they are doing. And only as a growth marketer or a marketing consultant, you can confidently ask about their revenue, their margins and everything.
Absolutely.
And they would kind of give all the data to you.
Absolutely. And I'm making a note of their conversion rates at each stage of the funnel. If it's a mobile app, I'm making sure I'm asking them, what's your DAU, what's your monthly active users, how many people are you able to retain on your app, what's your onboarding ratio? So if someone is installing your app, how many users are actually signing up, right? How many people are finishing your onboarding journey? Now there are beautiful growth hacks to have people complete your onboarding journey, to pay you, to come back, to refer other people. So there's always something which is missing.
Yes.
Right? And that's where it's not even a sell, but that's where the pitch comes in, where I say, hey, this is what you need to do. You can do it yourself, or I can help you with it.
Yeah.
If you have a team, I'll consult you. If you don't have a team, we can do a hybrid model. They would typically have someone in their team who would be a marketing manager, or at least and they would definitely have product engineers. So that's where it starts. And then they would usually ask for a proposal. And that's the whole sales process.
Yeah. They want to work with you more than you need them as a client.
Absolutely. And I think that position is where you want to be if you're, sort of building an agency, which you say, you have to be the alpha of your.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Awesome. Looks like a very interesting approach and a very solid approach. I absolutely love the fact that you have put each and every chapter of your book on the website itself. So now I want to talk about your evolution into eventually building your own startup, EduPops. So how did the idea come, and how was the initial stages of implementation? How did you validate the idea? What did you do to end up developing the app? So I would like to
Sure.
get the full whole 9 yards on that.
Right. So since I was doing all of this work in growth hacking, I actually saw that you are doing pretty well with the online courses. So I thought, this is a good approach to have people in your funnel. So I created online courses, and not just for my own email list, but I created online courses on Udemy and Skillshare and so forth. One of the things I learned from you is, maybe you don't put it this way, but the term that I use is called time in the funnel.
Okay.
While people think of marketing as, it's a funnel, you want to get people bottom of the funnel as soon as possible. I want to get people from top of funnel to bottom of funnel as slow as possible. As slow as possible.
Yes.
So the time in the funnel is a metric actually that we track. It has to be as high as possible. So like you have a 100-day course or something. So I also made a course which I basically increased the time in between because I'm lazier than you. So I just wanted to cover more days. I want to be on top of mind for more days. But one thing I noticed with Udemy and Skillshare, that the course completion rate was pretty low. So people were buying the course, but they were not really completing the course. And I used to make long courses at that point of time, like long videos and all that stuff. So while all of that was great, that people are in the funnel and all that, I was not so happy about the completion rates. And I thought it's just me. But then I checked the industry averages, and they were worse. Right? So I was doing a 20-25% course completion rate in my first courses, which I was not the best at course creation at that time. I was just using my webcam and stuff. But then I thought the industry average is 10%.
Okay.
So only 10% of people who buy an online course actually finish it.
In many cases, it's around 5 to 6%.
Could be even worse, right? So where are people spending their time and energy on, if not here, right? People spend 2.5 hours a day on social media. The completion rate of 1-minute videos is 90%, right? So I was like, hey, people need instant gratification. People need bite-sized content. People need it on the go. People need it on mobile. You will see that Udemy, Skillshare are all desktop first. And all the mobile platforms are entertainment first.
Yes.
Right? So I said, hey, this is desktop first learning, and this is mobile friendly entertainment. Why don't I make mobile friendly bite-sized learning?
Got it.
Right? So I'm like trying to find my small space in a huge market where my
Yeah.
competitors could be TikTok, Meta, Udemy, Skillshare, anyone, but actually no competitors at all, because I'm really finding a space there. So with EduPops, you learn something with short 1-minute videos. It's bite-sized, it's on your mobile, it's something you're already used to with social media. It's more or less like an Instagram Reels or a YouTube Shorts or a TikTok user experience.
And as soon as you sign up, you can select your interests on
Correct.
what
Just
content you
install
want
the
to
app,
learn.
select the topics you want to learn, you get the feed which is curated, and the feed learns with what you watch, right? But instead of getting you addicted to cats and dancing girls or whatever it is, we get you addicted to learning topics.
Got it.
Right? We want you to learn. We want every minute on the app to be a learning experience. If you spend a minute on the app, you learn something new. That's it.
Got it. And this will be created by different creators who might have their own funnel. It helps them build their personal brand.
So let's say we have your profile on EduPops. We have short videos, they get a taste of you, and then they can go on your website.
Oh, wow. So it's the top of the funnel. So instead of trying to run ads on Facebook, people can create content on EduPops as the top of the funnel strategy to get people.
Absolutely. And you'll get the early movers advantage as well. The other important thing is the conversion rates for courses from EduPops could be much higher than your conversion rates from an entertainment-based platform, because the serious learners are coming here.
And it's contextual, and people are here for a purpose, which is to learn.
Correct.
So the context is set well.
And if you go further down the funnel, I'm not just looking at conversion rates, but also course completion rates, which is the problem I started with, right? I want people from EduPops, even though they are watching bite-sized content, to be more serious learners, so that they're able to have, course creators are able to have a better completion rate as well on courses.
Got it. So how does one become a creator on EduPops? I would like to start publishing content on EduPops.
That'll be great. So as of now, we are only onboarding creators manually. So you'll have to go through like an application process, and we are reaching out to creators who we know to be good. Right?
Okay.
So we want to really maintain the quality of content on the app. So of course, I know you, and I will send you a form and you will fill it and you'll be onboarded. But eventually it'll be open to more people.
Yeah.
and we'll review the creator profiles and then allow them. Unlike an Instagram where anyone could go sign up and start creating a reel.
So is there any format for these videos that how long it should be?
Yeah, so the maximum is 1 minute.
Okay.
So it can be between 30 seconds and 1 minute.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it. And the users generally on Facebook, on Instagram, if they post something, they get likes, they get comments, and every time they get likes, it's like a dopamine rush.
Right.
So here, if they watch a 1 minute video, yes, they are learning something new. But is there any other social component to this or any gamification?
Right. So we prefer gamification over engagement.
Okay.
Right. And the reason is, if you look at comments on YouTube or Facebook or Instagram on content creators, most of them are either positive or negative, but not useful.
Yeah.
You know, they could be negative mostly, or they could be positive, but they may not be so useful. There could also be conversations amongst the community for which we are having a separate feature like a Reddit. So you can have a community for a topic. But for a particular video, you know, since it's a 1 minute video, we don't want people to actually get into commenting on one video and discussing a lot on that particular video. But we do have gamification. The more you watch on the app, we have rewards, we have awards. Those are all features that are currently being developed.
Okay.
So we've been developing the app just for 3 months. So we launched it 3 months ago. We had raised pre-seed funding from a Singapore, Southeast Asian investor. And we got 20,000 installs in the last 3 months.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Fantastic, man. This looks like a very interesting project. So how do you develop this? Do you like hire developers, work with them on a freelance capacity?
So I have 2 other co-founders. So I have a CTO, and he's a crazy coder guy. So he can code 48 hours on beer and pizza. And he's the one who's developing most of the app. And we have some interns as well. But right now it's just 5 people. So 3 co-founders and 2 interns.
Okay.
So I have a co-founder, her name is Thuong. She takes care of all the creators onboarding and talking to creators and influencers and operations. And then I have a technical co-founder, he is Vietnamese, and he does all the development on the app.
Got it. Fantastic. Looks very interesting, and I will be onboarding myself here.
Absolutely.
And also doing my bit to distribute this among my audience as much as possible.
Always appreciate it. Yeah.
Fantastic. So now let's kind of segue into a little bit of talking about, how do you execute all this, because it takes an insane level of productivity, a little bit of enthusiasm about the future, dreaming big, wanting to go somewhere, and if you can't be productive, like one cannot do all this. Like you are doing consulting, now you are doing a startup. So how do you keep yourself productive? And how do you keep yourself in the positive energy that a startup founder needs all the time?
Right. So I always say before I answer that question, I always say the results that you get are a multiplication of your skills and your output, right? So you can you can have output in terms of volume, in terms of productivity, in terms of consistency, in terms of discipline. Like what separates you from the other digital marketeers who may also have the skill, right? They have the skill, but you've been consistently doing it for a very, very long time, right? And some of the things that you do, I find them personally very boring, right? But the fact that you've been doing it, and boring does not mean it doesn't work, right? Yeah. Boring actually works better sometimes. So you do the boring stuff, but you do the right stuff for a very long period of time consistently. It's that multiplication that creates that effect, and not just one of those variables individually. So for me, the multiplier is the productivity. So what I do is I follow a very disciplined routine. I have rules for myself. I have rules for every day. I have rules for every part of the day. Is it, what do I do in the morning? What do I do in the afternoon? So what I believe is you are a compound effect of the days in your life, right? So I try to execute things by days or week rather than thinking about years. Because I know if I have good days, I will have good years by default. And if I have good years, I will have a good life, right? So it all fuels into one another. So it all starts with the daily routine, right? If you have an optimal daily routine, you can do things well. And then you multiply it by your environment. You could be in a bad environment trying to execute your daily routine, which may or may not work. So I try to be in an environment where I can execute the daily routine that I like. So for me, it's waking up between 5 and 6 a.m. Like that's the time that I would wake up. And you don't have to wake up early to be successful, but it works for me. So I do 5 to 6. That's the time when I'm ready to go to a workout. So I do a workout first. On Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I do a strength training routine or a calisthenics or a gym session. And on Tuesday and Thursday, I do cardio. So that's how I split the week. But I do the same thing. I work out in the morning, the first day. I don't get to work immediately.
Okay.
So people have different, advices on that. But it's again the same growth hacking process. You need to experiment, see what works for you. I tried Alex Hormozy, wake up, get a coffee and work. It doesn't work for me. Right? I want to see my daughter and go to the gym. That's all I want to do in the morning. Once I'm done with the workout, that's the time my brain is really working really well. I have clarity. That's the first deep work session of the day. So I have a 90-minute deep work session after that. And Cal Newport's book, highly recommended, Deep Work, that changed the way I work completely. So those 90 minutes, I have a distraction-free environment. I'm writing a book. I'm creating scripts for videos. I'm writing, writing a lot in that period of time, but also creating strategies, thinking about what do we need to execute in the next 3 months, what are the North Star metrics that we are chasing, some analytics as well, but no calls, no meetings, nothing of that sort, no email, no social media, of course. So I don't have my phone. I find it more productive to be on the laptop versus the phone, even though now you can do most of the things from your phone. I try to keep away with the smartphone at that time. So these 90 minutes, I can get so much output, what some of my friends get in a work day. So that's the time when I really get the output. And I also use day splitting. So what I do is I have certain days for my startup, and then I have certain days for the agency. Only for the deep work session. For the shallow work sessions, for the meetings, everything comes in at the same time. You cannot help it.
Yeah.
But for the deep work sessions, I have split, based on the day of the week, I focus on different businesses. I have 3 businesses at the moment. Then after I'm not eating anything in all of this time. It keeps my brain working better. I don't know what's the time. It's 11:15. I have not eaten anything since morning.
And you are intermittent fasting.
I am doing the intermittent fasting schedule. My schedule is not 12 to 8. I do 1 to 8.
Okay.
So I'm doing 17-7.
Okay.
Yeah, 17-9. So I'm fasting 17-7. Sorry, I'm doing 17 hours fasting and eating in a 7 hours window. But I have caffeine. I have caffeine until I eat the first meal. No sugar, no milk, just caffeine. Any kind of caffeine is okay. So I also have a rule that I will drink coffee only alternate days. So if I drink coffee today, I'm going to do tea tomorrow. But most days I'm doing coffee.
Okay.
So 4 to 5 days a week I'm doing coffee, but I'm trying to alternate between tea and coffee.
So it doesn't become a habit.
Correct. So anything you do daily, you become habitual. If you skip a day, it's better. On Sundays, I don't do any caffeine because I don't want to work on Sundays. So that's like the first half, which is the most important part of the day. And from 12 to 1 is when I start taking calls. So this is my time. I live in Vietnam. So I'm taking calls from 12 to 1. I'm telling people what to do, basically. I'm giving strategies. Hey, this is what you need to do today. This is what you need today. So I have a very good team, which is, again, one of the forms of leverage. Then at 1, I eat, and then every day I take a nap after lunch.
Perfect.
Every day. I love naps. So I would keep it within a 20 to 30 minute, which is what I found to work best for me, and also what people like Andrew Huberman and all suggest, to keep the naps shorter. You don't want to do a full sleep cycle. So I do a 20 to 30 minute nap, and my body clock is already adjusted, so I don't need alarms to do that. Then I wake up and I spend at least 30 minutes with my daughter. So I work from home and I have the luxury to do that. So I spend I've already done my workout, I've done my deep work, I've had my lunch and nap and everything. Now it's almost like a new day for me, right? And then it's almost like 3 p.m. by this time. And now I'm getting into my shallow work mode, I'm doing meetings, I'm doing client calls, I'm doing reports. For some people, this could be deep work, but for me, compared to what I did in the morning, this is easy work, right? So I'm doing a lot of here and there. I'm doing a lot of Slack responding to all the Slack messages. So my startup agency, I've made sure all the businesses run on Slack. Everyone is on Slack. I try to stay away from WhatsApp as much as possible. So I'm doing focused work even within the shallow periods. Once I'm done with that, so this is 3 to 5 p.m. Every day I would go for sunset. I love to see the sunset.
Oh wow.
If it's life or death situation, then I'll skip the sunset, but otherwise not.
Okay.
Right. So I love to see the sunsets. That's the time when the brain is subconsciously solving my startup problems, even though I'm not in front of the laptop. I feel the best results come when you're not in front of the device, when you're not actively working. So you have this focused, concentrated effort, and then you have this relaxation phase where you let the brain go into subconsciously solving problems, right? And that's where really good answers come in. So if you calculate in my entire day, I'm working 5 hours, a day, 5 to 6 hours a day. But I'm trying to get as much results as possible within that time. Now it's, sunset is done. I have an early dinner because I want to close my eating window quickly. So I usually eat at 7 p.m. So once I'm done by 8 p.m., I'm already in my fasting mode. And I will be fasting until the next day, until 1. Right?
Got it.
So those are the 17 hours.
Okay.
And then I have a few US customers for my agencies where I do need to just be present, sometimes in the calls. So my 8 p.m. in Vietnam is EST, New York 8 a.m. So I'm, in that time I'm doing some calls here and there, but not the most. I'm just I just need to be there. My project manager takes care of the talking.
Got it.
And then, by 9 I am free. 9:30 I'm free, and then I spend again time with my daughter and wife. That's the time we just chill together. They are probably having dinner because I've already eaten early, but that's good because I can hold my daughter while my wife eats. Only one person can eat at a time when you have a baby. And then by 10 I'm in bed. So by 9 I've already switched off the devices. 1 hour before I sleep, I don't have any blue light exposure.
Yeah. That's perfect, man. This is like a blueprint for productivity. I think I'm going to, take a lot of the parts as inspiration and follow it in my own life.
Absolutely. I think it's all about the day. If you build your day properly.
Yeah.
And then some things you can throw in sometimes a week.
That will always happen.
Cold exposure, cold showers. You can throw in 3 times a week, you can do sauna once a week. I get a massage once every week. Also in Vietnam, the massages are great and cheap. So I get a massage once every week. I think it improves productivity for sure. Even if it doesn't, I don't mind.
Okay. So, some things that, I used to blog about this, that as you said, productivity is a force multiplier.
Yep.
So I had this analogy that I used to tell my students and wrote on my blog that imagine that you are a woodcutter. You have 10 hours in a day. You could spend all the 10 hours trying to cut wood without sharpening your axe, and that will not get you anywhere. So some people are extremely hard workers. They work for 10 hours in a day, but they forget to upskill themselves. And then there are people who are always upskilling, going for training, seminars, reading books and everything. But they don't have a good productivity routine, which means they're always sharpening the axe but not cutting the tree. And at the same time, you also need to give enough time for mindfulness and thinking about things within your day, not a continuous stretch.
Right.
So I have this 40-30-30 rule. That 40% of the time you should be productive, you should be getting things done with whatever skills you have and whatever you know, which is your deep work session in the morning. And then another 30% of the time, so another 3 hours, you are sharpening your axe. Right. So I'm at least every day you should be spending 3 hours in learning. And I would say even writing, something that you learned about also comes under, the whole learning curve. But whether you are listening to audiobooks, watching an online video or a seminar or some, talking to smart people like you, also learning for me. So 3 hours a day, which is sharpening your axe and learning new skills and maybe executing them, trying them out.
Nice.
And another 3 hours in a day, mindfulness activity, which kind of fits with your watching the sunset routine, because as a woodcutter, you are 4 hours a day chopping the wood, 3 hours a day you are sharpening the axe, and next 3 hours you think about whether you are cutting the right tree. Maybe you are barking at the wrong tree or cutting the wrong tree, and you need to think about, hey, is this kind of aligning with my long-term goals? Should I change something what I am doing? Should I that's how probably you got an idea for your startup as well. How long can I keep just consulting and growth hacking for other people? Maybe I want to apply the skills for myself, and in the long term, this could, raise money and have a valuation, and you make money from the equity and not from the sales and profits of your own
True.
products and services.
I mean, the real money.
Yeah, the real money is always in the equity.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the way I've also thought about the growth of my startup. That for me, whenever I see profit, and if I take home that profit, it feels like an opportunity cost. Like, hey, I could have reinvested this profit back into the growth of my business, and the business will grow. And eventually, if you can have investors, then you will make money from the equity of the startup as well. So yeah, that's I think pretty much it. Great interview, Rishabh, and all the best for your future endeavors.
Thanks, Deepak. Always
thanks a lot
happy to
for
be with you.
doing this podcast.
Thank you.
Done. Bye bye.